And Facebook looks like it's up and working. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Let's get the show started.
Hello and welcome back to the Armcast Analyst Show.
Armchair Analysts Show, which is the name of this show that we're going to, I think, continue, right? Even though it's break time. High finals week, by the way, Zach.
Happy finals week. I feel like I've aged as poorly as Jeff Saturday has.
Unfortunately,
stress and
he was enjoying retirement, coaching high school ball, and now he's plastered all over the national news, losing the teams that should be beaten. In his defense, the Colts team's just not very good.
Yeah.
Another team that, as of right now, is not very good, but one we still love are Pittsburgh Steelers.
Pittsburgh Steelers, what a game, what a win.
What a win, what a desperately needed win. That's the second in a row. I think they're on a roll. 5-7 never looks pretty, but you're 2 games away from 7-7, which is great. That's 50, that's a .500 ratio. Then you're 1 game away after that. You're 3 games away from a positive record again. Mike Tomlin's record is intact.
Right, and you can. I think I read somewhere, and I think this was last week, so that those chances just increase even more. But if they win out, which crazier things have happened in the NFL, the likelihood of that is not great, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But if they win out, there's an 87% chance that they make the playoffs, or something in the high 80s, high 90s.
Yeah, well, it looks like every other team is just determined to absolutely ruin their seasons.
Sure.
While Pittsburgh, I feel like, is on the upswing.
And something that I think we consider for all teams when we look at it is that this is a longer season. This is season 2 of that extended extra game, and that puts a lot on teams. So, when you're trying to catch your groove, in week 4, 5, 6, or 7, a lot of these teams aren't getting into 6, 7, 8, or 9, or week 9, a little bit later than what we're used to. But, and we've seen this in the past. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
The hot team that, we saw the Giants do it twice when nobody expected them. The Bengals did it last year, where they just got hot at the right time.
Yeah, it was awesome. So yeah, Steelers are definitely on an upswing. You said something right before we went live, which was this was the offense that we were expecting to see at the beginning of the year.
Right.
This is the Steelers of rookie quarterback, first year. He's not going to be an all-star, but he was going to be performing decently. Sophomore running back who just
strong running back, yep.
strong dude, and a receiving core that can actually catch a ball every once in a while.
And the need to and your quarterback is mobile. He can pick up that first down, which he did a couple of times. And you kind of thought at the beginning of the season, if someone showed me the Atlanta game, like if I was in a coma and I woke up and just saw the Atlanta game and I received that coma right before the season started, I'd be like, okay, this makes sense to me.
Yeah, so what are we, 9-4 or something?
Right,
you go,
exactly.
Actually, no, we're 5-7. You'd be like, how the heck did this happen? Right. They look like that, and they're still losing. Wow, the league must be amazing this year. And then you look around the league and go, actually, no, it's not. Good thing. Apologies to any coma patients who just woke up in week 13 and thought we were doing really well. Pickett, the rookie quarterback, has been looking, like we said, a lot better. Still dinking and dunking some passes, tries to stretch deep every once in a while. Here's a funny story from Sunday, actually, speaking of passes. So I watch NFL Red Zone to try and watch as many of the games as possible, at least the most interesting parts, because nobody wants to see a 3-and-out kind of game. The first highlight that came from the Steelers game onto NFL Red Zone was a Deontay Johnson drop pass in the red zone. It was in the red zone, so they were within 20, 30 yards of a touchdown. But yeah, they were like, now we're going to show you the Steelers game. They're down at the opponent's 25, and Pickett slings it, and Johnson drops it. And I'm like, yeah, of course he did. Why are we showing this? This isn't a highlight. Yeah, of course he did. Everyone knows that. So that's just a little funny thing. I got a dog on Johnson because he's still here. And Claypool's not. So
much ado about nothing, though. So what do you think about the Pickens showing frustration that he did not win, or did not win, but that he was not getting the ball? And the Steelers win.
But
it was tightly contested. In a tightly contested game.
Very tightly contested game. I love it. I mean, I've said it before. I love when players coaches, doesn't matter. When they show emotion, to me, that's like, oh, that guy cares. That guy wants to win. He's not, TikTok dancing on logos and he's not getting in arguments with his teammates. He's passionate. I know I can help this team do better. Why aren't you letting me help? And that's how I read it.
That's how Mike Tomlin read it.
Yeah.
I listened to his press conference, and that's exactly what he said. He said, hey, listen, you guys are blowing this out of proportion. I like competitors. He's young.
Yep.
He needs to.
He's thirsty. He's hungry. He
Right.
wants that ball. He knows he can help his team win. Let him help that team win. I get it. Like, teams are putting coverages out there that they don't feel comfortable throwing in, and Pickett's not, he's no Ben Roethlisberger. He can't find every single little window
Right.
that you give him. But no, I'm on Pickett's side. Like, dude's passionate, and I love that. I want to see that from my players. If they're just like, oh well, I don't like. Sometimes you'll see wide receivers just like jogging down the field if they know they're not getting the ball, and it's just kind of like, well, all right, what are you doing out there?
Right.
Like, what are you even doing?
Yeah.
So.
And I thought he made a really interesting comparison. Obviously, we're talking apples to stones here, but like he called it very, TJ Watt is very passionate and has that. So, this idea that, you have the best defensive player in the game and you're being compared to, in terms of your passion and your fire, to, one of the league's, if not the league's best defensive player. I know he's not showing it, it's not on the stat sheet this year.
He's usually just hurt.
Right.
That's the problem. That's the problem with the Watts.
Right.
They can't stay healthy. But
hey, Derek had a big catch.
Derek's doing great. The young Hayward had a great catch in his father's old stadium.
Such a cool moment.
Great moment.
Such a cool
and I'm
moment.
sure, both of them were like, I saw a little thing of Cam Hayward and Coach Tomlin walking off the field, and they were like, Cam Hayward's like, yeah, we went and visited, Dad's old grave here today, and it just meant a lot for us. So I was like, good for you, man. I'm glad. Side note, real quick, do you watch the Pittsburgh Dad YouTube channel? Do you know that guy?
Yeah, yes, okay. I'm familiar with him.
So I was watching his video.
Hell of an actor. He's a Broadway, like he's not a Broadway, but he does a lot of like musicals and stuff in the Pittsburgh area. Yeah.
Big theater guy. Love him to death. He's funny. Check out his YouTube channel if you're ever bored. But he was recapping the Falcons game, and his imaginary wife brought up the fact that Ironhead Hayward, I forget his first name, but played for Atlanta, and he goes, well, that's dumb. He should have played for Pittsburgh. In fact, as a Steeler fan, I'm going to rewrite the history and say that Ironhead Hayward played for Pittsburgh. There, written in stone, done. Pittsburgh fans, we just rewrite history according to everybody else. So we're gonna lay into it and give us Ironhead, who even plays football in Atlanta anymore.
You think? So yeah, no, and that defensive side of the ball. Talking about Cameron Hayward, that defensive side of the ball. I mean, this is what they need to do.
Yeah.
17 points. That is the magic number. If they can hold opponents to 17 points, that is a win for the defense. Mm-hmm. That is a win for the defense, and they were able to do just that.
So I know
keep
the
them
defense,
at 17, and they win the game.
So I know the defense did really well because Marcus Mariota was my quarterback this week in fantasy. Because I am hurting for quarterbacks.
How many people are in your league?
I think 14.
Oh yeah, that's
tough. And I had to get a running back first. I had to get a receiver first. I got Jefferson, Barkley. Yeah. That just speaks to, again, more education problems. But Mariota was my quarterback, and he got me single-digit points this week. And I was like, oof. I knew it going in. I knew it going in. It was going to be tough. So
and that's one thing that and they commented this, and for those of I watched the game. Atlanta did not give up on the run game. I mean, they were down, and they came back, and they just kept running the ball, which kind of put the Steelers not what they were, thinking was going to happen in the second half, and it showed because they had some big runs there and things of that nature. So that Highsmith, man,
dude, cool. I hope that guy gets paid all of the money. I hope he starts making very close to TJ Watt money because that kid deserves it. He is playing his heart out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to get, I think he commands, very much 17, 18, 19 million a year. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the Steelers are going to pay that kind of money. And the Steelers with the linebacking system, they always seem to have a guy right in the waiting where everyone's kind of waiting for it. I don't know if Pittsburgh has that. So Highsmith, he's getting paid. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's going to be with the Steelers.
If it's not with the Steelers, I really, really hope we get some kind of some good compensation for that guy.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think Bud Dupree got us a third, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I forget who we turned that into. I forget who that was. But yeah, I think, was it Highsmith? No, we already had Highsmith on the roster.
Yeah, we had him already.
We had Highsmith on the roster. That's why
Which is why we could afford to trade Bud Dupree.
Yeah.
That's why we could afford it. And I think that's the thing. Unless we find some, hidden defensive talent in the draft again, I don't think Highsmith is going anywhere because, like you said, we don't really have a guy waiting in the wings right now on defense. Everyone who is good on our defense is already out there. Minka's out there, Highsmith's out there, Watt's in there, Hayward's in there. Our corners are shaping up to be a little bit better than they were at the beginning of the season.
You know who might come back this season unless something changed, from this afternoon to today?
Ike Taylor.
William Jackson.
Oh.
I forgot they got him. They got him for a 7th-round pick from Washington.
That's right.
Yeah, he's been on an IR.
That's right. That happened right around the time of the Claypool trade.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
a little bit before.
A week before, I believe, or a couple of days, like 5 days. The physical week before.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that'll be good. And we got a big one next week. I mean,
if anyone is familiar with football who's listening to this, you know next week is a dog rivalry. Baltimore Ravens coming into Pittsburgh. These teams hate each other.
Yes.
I mean, these guys go back. It's easy to say division rivals all despise each other, right? But it always feels like between the Steelers, the Ravens, and the Steelers and Bengals, there is a special kind of this is a big deal kind of rivalry. And maybe it feels that way for other teams. But
sure,
this one, as a Steelers fan, these are the games you circle on the calendar and go, those are must-win games. We have to win them.
Absolutely, of course. And, in both, it doesn't matter what the record is. You just throw that record out. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Knows they're familiar with each other. And, Mike Tomlin talked very much about how great the Ravens organization is run and how they can just kind of put coordinators in because they have this type of not hierarchy, but the system in play where it's, not only our players plug and play, but it seems like a lot of these defensive coordinators are plug and play as well.
Yeah, they are. The Ravens, I mean, they're a dangerous team. They're leading the North right now, but the Bengals are nipping on their heels. So if anything, this is an opportunity for the Steelers. So I laid out a mini scenario on my notes here. If the Steelers win in Week 14 and Cleveland loses, Steelers jump to third. If the Bengals somehow lose, it wouldn't get us to second place, but it would just help in the long run. I'm mostly just looking I don't want the Steelers to be last in the division. I want them to be ahead of Cleveland no matter what. And the Cleveland-Pittsburgh rivalry is always a fun one, but it's usually just Pittsburgh punching down on Cleveland, I feel like. Sure, Cleveland gets their wins here and there, but it's more Pittsburgh punching down at Cleveland. It's a lot of implication next week. The last couple weeks of the season are actually going to be, I think we have Ravens, then somebody, then Bengals, then somebody, then Ravens again.
Yeah.
We have the Ravens again very soon.
Yeah, I think it's because we got that Oakland game coming up.
That's Christmas Eve.
That's Christmas Eve. Yep. So
that is Week 15, I believe.
Yeah. So I think, we have Baltimore next. We have Carolina after Baltimore. So,
okay.
Yeah, we go to Carolina.
Oh, and they just got rid of Baker, so Baker's not even going to get any revenge on Pittsburgh.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a sinking ship.
So if the Steelers can pull off a win, they go to Carolina, then they go, and then Christmas Eve, they've got the Raiders coming in, and then Week 17 they play the, you could be sitting pretty. You could be sitting, stack 3 wins, be 8-7.
They could absolutely go on a run, and this is one of those years where 8-7 might get you in the playoffs.
Right.
Not 8-7
7 losses.
Yeah,
7 losses.
7 losses can still get you in. You'd be the 7th seed, and it's going to be a tough road, but you could be there.
Yeah,
you could be there in a heartbeat. But so we're saying that next week looks really good for a win for 3 reasons. Reason number 1, they're coming to Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Hard to play in Pittsburgh. Ask any team in the league.
Sure.
This is Steelers fans travel the most, so it's hard to play anywhere. But in Pittsburgh, it is tough. Reason number 2. again, throw records out the window. It's not about what we did the week before. It's about what we're doing today here on the field. Reason number 3, Lamar Jackson, the quarterback for the Ravens, all-star, is not going to play. He's less likely to play. That's what Coach Harbaugh said. He's less than likely.
See, and I don't know if I agree with that reason because Lamar Jackson does not play well against the Steelers. Do you know what the Lamar Jackson's career record against the Steelers is?
I actually don't.
It is 2-3. 2-3.
Okay.
How many touchdowns in the 5 games that he's played in his career against the Steelers, and he's been hurt for a lot.
Mm-hmm.
How many touchdowns has he thrown against the Steelers in 5 games?
Thrown touchdowns?
Thrown touchdowns.
It's got to be less than 10.
It is substantially less than 10.
Is it 2?
It is double that.
Okay, so 4. Okay, so
4
touchdowns
to 6 interceptions.
That's great.
QB rating of 67.4. His highest QB rating was last year at 80.1, but he still lost. Threw for 253 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
I remember that game.
So I'm thinking, like, Lamar, the Steelers have, they come out, they take Bush out, they put Spillane in, they don't put Watt on the edge. They have him kind of more of a spy almost in that, and they force Lamar Jackson to throw the ball.
Mm-hmm.
They force him, and then the whole world gets to watch.
Because that's where he's dangerous.
Not a good pass.
Exactly. That's where he's dangerous. If Lamar escapes the pocket and starts running around, either extending the play or just running upfield, that's where he's most dangerous. And the Steelers do have a great contained plan for him. I think it's going to do double effective against this Huntley guy. Because I don't know much about Huntley, admittedly, but he's a career backup, which there's nothing wrong with that. You're a career backup in the pro football league. You're still making millions of dollars, and you still have to be a good quarterback. But compared to Lamar, you're not as good of a quarterback. And I think the Steelers don't have to change much because Huntley does a lot of the same things Lamar does. I mean, that game where they barely beat the Denver Broncos of all teams. Huntley didn't look any and for a little bit, I thought Lamar was back out on the field until they started giving more and more updates about him. I'm like, oh, okay. So this is just his backup is his copycat, basically.
Yeah, he is the generic version of Lamar Jackson. I mean, yeah,
he's the poor man's Marcus Mariota.
Yes.
And Marcus Mariota is a poor man's Lamar Jackson. Like it's just an endless cyclical. Yeah, it's a mess.
Yeah, they played him last. Huntley was started for the Ravens last year. He ended up throwing for only 141 yards, 2 interceptions, and one fumble. So the Steelers did get his number, but again, the difference between last year and this year is. Before you start quarterback, right? So when you're a backup quarterback, everything's just you don't know what you're good at. You don't know what you're bad at. But now there's actual tape. So the coaching staff, Huntley were able to not only play, but get a real feel for the game. But now they have tape and they can watch, what he needs to improve on. So yeah. I, like the Steelers have said, also believe that Huntley is going to be vastly improved from the season before. Still not going to be Lamar Jackson. Still very much a backup quarterback. But if you're thinking that this is going to be, one of those, easy games or this guy's going to not have a good game. I mean, yeah. I wouldn't start him on my fantasy league. Maybe if I was in a 14-teamer and, I had to.
I would still hesitate to start the Steelers defense on my fantasy league because it's the Ravens. And that's the thing. It doesn't matter who's quarterback. This is still a Ravens game. Yeah, in Pittsburgh. Sure. This is it's a big game. It's a big deal.
And it will be. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't know, and I think they're going to start that running. Who's that? Gus Edwards. I don't think they're going to have Dobbins in a full capacity. He's coming off of IR. I think he's actually been activated off of IR. Word is kind of, they're protecting that. So they are going to have that strong running back, and the Steelers have a problem stopping a run this year. I mean, they've looked better the past couple of games, but they're still kind of in the middle in terms of run defense. So
yeah,
gotta clog up that middle.
Yeah, they're letting themselves get blocked way too often. They're letting themselves get blocked way too often and way too hard. Like they need to. Yeah, the interior needs to buff it up, and they will. I think they'll figure it out. If not for the rest of the season, they'll definitely pick up some draft talent.
I guess the Steelers have the 7th best run defense, allowing just 107.
But it could be
7.5 yards.
But it could be first.
Yeah, it could be for. I mean, San Francisco's up there. Baltimore's the number 2 run defense. So Najee, if you're listening to us,
God forbid you ever hear this.
That run type of man on fire passion that you had last week, can you please do it this week?
Bring it again. I want to see Kyle Brand award you another angry run scepter.
I saw that.
Yeah, you love that.
I saw that.
If you haven't seen it, look up the clip of Najee Harris's against the Falcons, his quote angry run. This guy tries to tackle him low, and Najee puts his hand on like the crown of his head and just bounces him off the turf. I mean, it is a sight to behold. You're like, that dude just dribbled that guy. Like that guy just was bounced like a basketball off the turf, like he was not even there.
And I was a little disappointed this season because, and I get it, and I listened to the interviews, and I listened to what Najee said, but I was kind of thinking that in year 2 he would slim down, right? He'd lose 8, 9, 10 pounds. And I guess I feel that way because that's just normal NFL kind of cyclical type of things. And
what are your goals?
Le'Veon Bell did that. Le'Veon Bell lost about 11, 12 pounds going into his sophomore season, and he killed it. He ran for 1,200 yards and caught another 800 yards. That was that's when you knew, like, oh my gosh, Le'Veon Bell's. And Najee Harris didn't do that this year. And so I kind of was a little bit, that kind of was like, oh, why not?
Yeah.
But he does have the build, the making of a Derrick Henry. I mean,
you have 2 choices when you become a running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You have 2 basically lanes that you can go into. There's the Jerome Bettis lane,
right,
which is just straight power,
Derrick
Henry style, or there's the Le'Veon Bell lane where you're quick, you're back and forth, you dance a lot, but it's like you're just trying to find your gap, and once you do, you're gone.
Right.
You're very fast, and if anyone gets in your way, you can hit them, but it usually is going to stop you. You're looking for the lane where there's nobody and you can outrun everybody.
Yeah.
And I think Najee's still trying to figure out which lane he truly belongs to. He looks great in the Bettis lane so far.
Yeah.
I would love to see what he can do, like if he can pick up his speed a little bit, or even if we can get another back that has that kind of speed.
Warren, I think, does. I think Warren has shown that. I mean, I know he's been hurt and they haven't used him that much, but Warren's got some top speed that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And that was McFarland. That was what he's supposed to be. And, this couple times he has touched the ball, he looks good. But I don't know how sustainable is that. But, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you can't run the ball against the Ravens, what do you do? What is your game plan? I am Mr. Rooney.
Yeah.
Tomlin's sick this week. I need you to be the coach. How are you going to attack the
First,
Ravens?
I called Jeff Saturday and said, Jeff, we need you to coach another team.
Who is the Steelers' Jeff Saturday?
If they were to bring him in.
Yeah. Like, who would be our Jeff Saturday?
Probably Alan Faneca.
I mean, that's a great answer.
Yeah.
Great answer, Tim.
Yeah.
Okay,
so Alan Faneca.
Sorry to cut you. I just was wondering about
another
that.
Hall of Famer, Ring of Honor member, lineman. It all works out.
Yeah, you're probably. Yeah, I think I agree with that, and maybe Kiesel. I mean, if we
Brett Kiesel would be awesome.
Maybe,
a little bit of a younger.
And defense, I think, because the Steelers seem to be a more defense, and when I think Colts, I think offense. So if I'm the owner, Rooney, hey buddy, Tim, sir, can you please? I listen to your radio show.
Mm-hmm.
You do a very, very excellent job.
Thank you.
Can you be a coach this week? How are you preparing to play the Ravens this week?
I'm trying to get Pickett to open up his arm a little bit, and I want to get Freiermuth the ball because they have Mark Andrews.
Yes.
We have to go tight end v tight end right now.
I like it.
Mark Andrews, every Mark Andrews pass, we have a Freiermuth pass ready to go. Also, I want Pickens to have the ball. I want Pickens to catch, even if it's just like a little quick slant over the middle. Give him the ball, let him do the rest.
Okay.
He can streak. I know he can streak downfield, but I know, at least from what I've seen, I don't think Tenney's as comfortable in those scenarios. Frankly, I don't think his arm can throw that far. Like, I'm sure he can throw 50 yards.
Sure.
Can he throw 60? Like, I don't know. I haven't seen it. So just trying to get Pickens the ball, get Freiermuth the ball, and just be aggressive. The second you let up against the Ravens, they take full advantage. Their defense is, like you just read off, usually heralded as right neck and neck with the Steelers.
Yep.
Steelers and Ravens usually have some of the better defenses in the entire league.
They've got a nasty defensive line. I think they have Pierce Paul. Is that? Yeah. I mean, they've got they've got some great linebackers. That secondary, led by Marcus Peters, but they've got some gamers on there. It's gonna be a tough one. That's interesting. You wanna throw the ball quick. That's
going against the number 2 rushing defense. I mean, Najee's great, and he'll probably get us what's the one thing coaches always say? You need 3 yards every down. That
Right,
includes
sure.
fourth down. 3 yards every single down, you'll do great. I think Najee would only end up getting us like maybe 2 yards every down. And for the first 3 downs, that's great. Can't afford to only get 2 yards on fourth down. You've got to be able to sling the ball around a little bit. Again, you can't let the Ravens set the pace. They want you to run at them all day because they know they can stop you. So the 2 options, throw it over their heads, or Najee proves everybody wrong and he just runs right through the Ravens, which would be great. I'm not saying it would, but it wouldn't be in my game plan.
Excellent. You know who, and before we, just one thing I want to point out before we move on, I do think that the most important game, I think this is the most important game this is for, is Terrell Edmonds, right? Because Terrell Edmonds is a good safety.
Yeah.
Now that position isn't as valued as it used to be. I mean, I know Minka deserves all the money, but Terrell Edmonds has been very solid, had very little. I mean, he signed with the Steelers for a very little contract. The greatest strength in my eyes, in my opinion, this is what, when they signed Bush, this is what they thought we were getting with Bush. But Edmonds has proven to be that guy. He's very good at stopping tight ends.
Yeah,
he is. So if he can stop tight ends, if he can stop Mark Andrews, the second best tight end in the league, maybe the first. You might be able to make the argument first because that offense definitely runs around him.
Who would be better, Kelsey, right?
Of course, yeah.
Travis Kelsey of the Kansas City Chiefs. Like maybe I would love to see those two go head to head. Like that would be awesome.
Yeah, and that may happen in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I mean, like take away the receivers, take away the running back, and it's just offensive line, tight end, quarterback, go.
Yeah, sure.
See what happens.
Yeah. So I think if Terrell Edmonds, who wants to get paid, who should be getting paid, I think he proves his worth this week by how he does against Ensberg. I think you put Edmonds on Mark Anthony instead, or Mark Anthony.
Andrews.
Jesus. And you go from there. Talking about Mark Anthony, how about that Browns game?
Oh my God, I was so happy I was right.
I almost texted you during that game. Because they were winning. I was like, I told you, I'm always right.
Yeah, and it should be known that Cleveland won the game. Right?
Sure.
Cleveland won the game, but Deshaun Watson looks awful. He was booed when he was. Well, granted, they were in Texas, they were in Houston Stadium, but like even the Browns fans there weren't very happy to see Deshaun Watson. I mean, I don't think anybody's happy to see Deshaun Watson. I'm happy he's doing poorly.
131 yards, 1 interception, a QBR rating of 28.5.
That is abysmal.
He looked trash.
What does a 28.5 get you in college? An F.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
By leaps and bounds.
Right. Even on a curve. Yeah.
Exactly. That no professor alive is that nice to go. Oh, you only naturally scored a 28. We'll give you a 60. No, this dude is awful. It's a Russell Wilson situation. Great back in the day, goes to a new team. Forget all the off-field stuff for a second. Just goes to a new team, doesn't play for almost a year and a half, and yeah, I mean, it's exactly what you paid for if you're the Browns. What did you think was going to happen?
12 for 22, 54% completion rating.
Over 50%?
Not a QBR, but a QB rating of 53.4. Again, another F.
Yeah.
Another F. This guy is just, and I have a buddy, I have a couple Cleveland buddies, and they all said the same thing, or they kind of, echoed the same thing. Let's just keep Jacoby in.
Right. Jacoby was doing great.
Jacoby in, yeah, Deshaun.
But you paid so much for the guy.
You can't. You have to start.
Yeah.
You went through all that. You went through the court stuff and spent all that money on
settlements and the lawyers and
all that draft capital. You have to. If you don't, you look silly.
So it's another, and this is why I think the Steelers are in a really good position right now, because the Browns are looking worse and worse as every game goes by.
Yep.
Okay. This game, they looked awful. Next week, I have a feeling they're going to be awful again. If they put Jacoby back in, who knows? Like, they might be able to turn it around. But if they are dead set on Deshaun, then forget about it. Steelers are going to overtake the Browns easily. They'll finish last in the North again.
Well, that comes up to our next, the big, let's get into it this way. You got Cincinnati and Cleveland. In Cincinnati, who's beating Cincinnati right now?
Not even Kansas City.
I mean, yeah, Kansas City is, the best team in the AFC right now. and they just can't beat. They can't figure out Cincinnati.
Now, this is the third game in a row. So Week 13 was the third matchup between the Bengals and the Chiefs within the last year because they played last year and they were the year before that.
Mm-hmm. No, they played last year. They played twice last year.
They did play twice last year. I knew I didn't imagine.
And end of the season, week 16, 15, kind of in the middle of Cincinnati's like momentum shift and in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so since he beats them in week 15, 16, gains all that momentum, meets them again in the AFC Championship, not just the playoffs, the AFC Championship, the game that determines which one of you is going to the Super Bowl for the AFC. Since he wins, they go to the Super Bowl, they lose the Super Bowl. Fast forward to this past week, they go to Kansas City again and beat Kansas City in Arrowhead Stadium. Not an easy place to win. I don't know what it is about these Bengals, but they have KC's number, and they keep calling it. They're just like, yep, no, these guys are nothing. These guys, who are the Chiefs? I've never heard of them. That's what the Bengals locker room feels like to me. So,
sure,
amazing,
and they look good now. But now you got Cleveland, who's coming off a 2-game winning streak. They beat Tampa Bay, then they beat Deshaun.
Mm-hmm.
They pulled out some ugly wins. And here's another. Let me ask:
wins.
How many? Joe Burrow has played the Cleveland Browns 4 times in his career. How many of those games have been wins for Joe Burrow?
4.
He is 0-4 against the Cleveland Browns.
What?
Yep,
that's insane.
That's the paper rock scissors that is the AFC North.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah, because wow.
In 4 games, how many touchdowns do you think he's thrown?
It's got to be 10. They're high scores.
You're close. It's 8. And then how many interceptions?
6.
4.
Okay.
So he's got a QB rating.
So he's doing okay against the Browns. It's not a Deshaun Watson scenario where he's out there, showing his pants.
Yeah.
That is.
Surprising.
I would have thought. Yeah, I would have thought. Well, I guess his whole first year he was out with that leg injury and all that kind of stuff. So he's really only ever played 2 years.
Yeah.
This is really his second year.
Yeah, and he's he played him twice in 20 and once in 21 and once in 22, and he can't beat them.
Wow.
For some reason. That's a team thing. His stats look pretty good. I mean, he hasn't had a monstrous game. I guess in 2021 he did throw 2 interceptions to no touchdowns, and that was really his bad game. But 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Yeah.
These are.
I think he's got good numbers. Defense letting him down. I mean, the Bengals used to be one of the top 3 defenses in the league.
Yeah.
Granted, they had a bunch of dirty players who would take cheap shots.
Sure.
But that's neither here nor there. But 2015 Bengals defense was a force to be reckoned with.
Sure.
I don't think they're that force anymore.
No.
They have gone all in on their offense between Mixon and Burrow and Chase. I mean, these guys are just going all in on the offense. Their defense struggles, so taking that into account, it does make sense that they haven't beaten the Browns, because as much as I despise the Browns, they are a more well-rounded team, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they have, this season, and I think the talk from Cleveland is because of their defensive coordinator, but they've had really good defenses, really good game plans, and they've been a pretty strong team on paper for the past couple of years. They just find ways to Cleveland it up.
Of course.
What do you think? So the division leaders right now, I think you have Buffalo, number 1 seed, Kansas City, the number 2 seed.
Kansas City, I think, would be the 2 seed, and then Tennessee, and then
Baltimore. So that doesn't feel like that's gonna be how this season shakes out.
No, and I would love.
Tennessee feels like a 4th seed. They feel like
they're going to be a 4th
South
seed.
Is not is not as competitive, and Tennessee's got some tough games and stuff like that coming up.
So the only reason why Baltimore's at the end of that list is not actually because that's the seed order. It's just because Baltimore, I think, is the closest one to being replaced.
Sure,
at this point.
That's by Cincinnati, right?
Yeah, by Cincinnati.
That's just
by Cincinnati.
That's gonna
Tennessee. Nobody in Tennessee's division is catching them. The Colts are the closest ones, and they are way below.
Right.
I mean, way below average right now. So
Jaguars look,
Jaguars been showing hope.
Yeah,
Doug Peterson's a great coach. Trevor Lawrence is a decent quarterback. I think they need another year. I think give Doug Peterson 3 years.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have a playoff close enough, like I don't think they'll make the playoffs in 3 years, but I think they'll be closer than they are now. I think they'll have a winning record. They'll be the 8th seed. If they don't make the 7th seed, they'll be number 8 in 3 years. You need to give these head coaches at least 3 years to build a team that they're comfortable with.
Sure.
Right now, Doug Peterson inherited Urban Meyer's mess.
Right.
And we already discussed our feelings of Urban Meyer. It's a terrible coach. So, yeah, I think Jaguars, give them 3-4 years. They'll be okay. Colts, give them another 5 because they just can't seem to figure it out. They keep getting all these other quarterbacks that nobody else wanted, and they think that's going to solve all their problems, and it never does.
What about the rest of the AFC East? You've got Miami. I was so excited to watch that game because I really do like the Miami Dolphins.
Mhm.
I finally get to watch them on TV. They're playing San Francisco, who I think is a good team, who I think is a well-coached.
Very good team.
And so I get really excited, and it's a dud. And I fell asleep during it.
Yeah.
I fell asleep. I swear, I got Tyreek Hill and Tua on my fantasy.
Mhm.
I fall asleep. I just look at the score, and it's 37-10 or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's something in my head, wishful thinking or whatever. I thought that was a Miami score.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, let me check my fantasy stat. I have this in the bag. It was reversed. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And who would have thought that was going to happen?
Well, and especially because Jimmy G, the starting quarterback for the Niners, went out with a broken foot.
Yeah, early.
He's out for the season.
Yep.
So that Purdy kid is up there. Who thought that guy was going to be anything?
Right.
Turns out he's pretty good.
I don't think
decent
he's
enough.
going to be good.
I don't think he's going to stick.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll stick. I think it's a Mike White situation.
Sure, absolutely.
Mike White with the Jets comes in. They bench.
That Patriots quarterback is what I'm thinking, that Zappy guy.
Yeah, Zappy came in hot, looked really good replacement. Next week, not a whole lot going on.
Yeah, that's hard to sustain that type of thing.
Yeah. It's hard to not get on the hype train, though, when you turn on NFL Network, ESPN, and all they're talking about is Purdy.
Sure.
Mike White. Like, it's everywhere. It's easy to buy into the noise. But, yeah, I think you're right. I don't think he'll stick. As soon as Jimmy G is healthy, which unfortunately won't be for another year, but they'll go right back to him. Still have no idea what they're doing with Trey Lance. That they drafted that kid super high, and he's nowhere to be found. I know he's hurt, but still, they got to figure it out. Anyway, back to your original point. Yes, the AFC East is probably going to be the most volatile division. Unfortunately, I feel like Buffalo is going to run away with it. Like, this is the time Buffalo starts running away from Miami.
Jets look good against the Vikings, and that's those cross division games. The NFC seem to have had the AFC's number this week.
Yeah.
Eagles won against the Titans. Vikings won against the Jets. Niners won against the Dolphins.
Mhm.
Cowboys won against the Colts, obviously.
Easy.
54-19.
Oh, my God. Embarrassing.
But the Jets, you can't. I'm not ready to count the Jets out.
No.
I think I'm quicker to count the Patriots out before I am the Jets.
Which is a weird feeling. There's actually been a lot of talk that the Patriots dynasty that I basically grew up with. I know you're a little bit older than me, but you got to see it form. You got to see it carry out. And now you're basically everyone's saying we're watching it end right now. Like, this is the end of the Patriots dynasty.
It ended when Brady left, right? Doesn't it?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, they still, yeah. No, Cam Newton was a failed experiment. I don't even know where that guy is anymore. I think
writing unreadable tweets on Twitter.
Yeah,
I never understand that guy.
Yeah, no one does. I don't think he does. But it's been hard to say. Like, it's hard to count out. It's always hard to count out the Patriots, right? Because you still have Bill Belichick and his whole coaching staff, his son with his terrible mullet. Terrible mullet. Like, dude, cut your hair. You're starting to look like who's the owner of the Raiders? Davis, yeah, the Davis haircut. That's almost what Steve Belichick looks like, except with longer hair.
Can you imagine being like a billionaire and having that haircut?
Well, you're a billionaire, so what do you?
I guess.
What do you care what anyone thinks about your hair?
The rumor is that they're cash poor. So
that's true. That actually is kind of true. That move to Vegas was expensive. But no, with the AFC East, I definitely feel like the Patriots, we can safely assume that they will be out of it if they are not already. They're the 8th seed behind the Jets. They need the Jets to start acting like the Jets for them to have any shot at a wild card spot.
So what about the other? So let's move over to the NFC. The NFC. Who do you like coming up? Like, what games did you like? So the NFC, I think, went 4-0, 5-0 against the AFC this week.
Yeah,
Again, Philadelphia, are they the best team in the NFL?
right now.
Are they
Right now, absolutely.
12-1?
12-1. It's hard to say that anyone can beat them. Now, regular season, they look awesome. It's going to be great. I'm more interested to see because so they're going to have the first round bye, right? It's almost a guarantee at this point. They're not mathematically the number one. Like they haven't clinched anything yet, but it's basically set in stone, limestone. But it is. It's hard to say, but I'll be interested to see what they look like in the playoffs because playoffs it's one and done. You don't get to have a bad game in the playoffs because if you do, you go home and that's it. That you're done. Sorry. There's no series. That's why I love these playoffs more than I like. I still love hockey playoffs. Baseball playoffs are fun because the series, like, it's a battle back and forth. It's a lot more like, we lost this one, but we in the next 5, we're good. NFL playoffs is you get one shot. And if you lose, sorry, kid, we'll see you next year. You better come back ready to fight. So, 12-1, they look like the best team in the league, but the saying, any given Sunday into the playoffs, any given Saturday counts too. Like, someone could just hand it to them. If it was going to be anyone, I don't think I can name a team that could do it. I would love to say Vikings, but they're not. They don't feel like a big game team to me. If anyone was going to hand the Eagles a loss, it was going to be the Cowboys or the Niners or maybe the Giants get lucky on a game, I think.
Because they play next week, don't they? I think
yes.
It's Giants. It's Giants Philly, isn't it? That's going to be a big game.
Yeah, Philly going to Giants, 11-1 versus 7-4-1.
Yep.
Because they tied Washington, which is going to come into play.
You thought that was a good game? I didn't watch that game. You thought it was good?
I thought it was exciting. At least the last couple of minutes were exciting because
it
was like 2017 and they're like fighting back and forth on and there's penalties here. And I hate when penalties decide games, but when they're timely and appropriate, I'm like, oh, this is gonna bring in some drama. I'm all about it. And the overtime was kind of boring. They just kind of went back and forth, a couple missed kicks here, drop passes here. It was a punt fest in the overtime. But the fourth quarter, like leading into that, was a ton of fun to watch.
Can I say how much I love the Rams picking up Baker Mayfield?
I
think that's such a smart move because you put them on San Francisco because San Francisco, they have the team, they have the defense, they have the run game, they have the coach, they have the coordinators. They just don't have the quarterback. Baker Mayfield.
Oh, you're talking about Los Angeles, not San Francisco.
Yeah, San Francisco, I think, would have been perfect.
To
pick up Baker Mayfield, and then LA, the Rams picked him up. I thought that was a genius move. Don't play him, just don't let the 49ers get him. I know that was an excellent move by Sean McVay. I really appreciate that. And
that's like picking up a guy in fantasy and just putting him on your bench and IR so that no one else, as long as no one else has him, I don't care.
Yep, I think that's a smart move. I mean, what happened to LA?
The Rams?
Yeah.
They got. Well, I wish I could say other than Matt Stafford kind of just turned back into Matt Stafford.
Yeah, he's on IR.
He wasn't LA Matt Stafford. He turned back into Detroit Matt Stafford.
Sure.
And unfortunately, you can take Matt Stafford out of Detroit, but you can't take Detroit out of Matt Stafford. He's a great guy. He's good, and he's a good quarterback. But he must have just got hot at the right time. Like, that's unfortunately what happens a lot of the times with these one-and-done Super Bowl teams. You
think that's what it is? You think it's a Matt Stafford thing? Because that whole offense looks bad.
Well, no, I don't mean to put all the blame on Matt Stafford. It's just easy to point at the quarterback and go, you need to do better. Like, well, yeah, of course, everyone does. But he's supposed to be the leader. He's supposed to be the general, leading the team. I mean, their defense still does all right. Aaron Donald's still on there causing issues.
Yep.
Yeah. Jalen Ramsey's still covering people to the best of his ability, which seems to be getting worse and worse every year. Like, I see more and more receivers calling out Jalen Ramsey. In the last 3 years, more and more receivers call him out and are correct in calling him out. Like, he doesn't shut down anybody, it feels like, anymore. He's a great quarterback still, but he doesn't have like shutout games like he used to. At least I don't think so.
You think Green Bay can still make the playoffs?
No.
You think they're done?
They're gone. The best thing that happened to Green Bay was that they beat the Bears, which, yay, another Bears loss. Go for us.
Yes,
good for us.
Excellent.
Very good. Good for Pittsburgh. But so they beat the Bears, and they took over the most winning franchise of all time. The Bears had this record for 100 years, and Green Bay just beat them this week, took over. They have 787 wins.
Wow.
Which is a lot of football.
Excellent.
That's a lot of football. That's a lot of winning.
And that time that tide may turn because we may be watching the end of Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he may be done, and then Justin Fields. I mean, I know that the Bears do not have a good a really good record this year, but that Justin Fields, he feels like he's going to be good. He feels like he's got the.
He is. I think give him a couple more years. Give him some receivers. Montgomery's a good running back, but give him a little bit of a better running back.
He seems older, right? Montgomery, I feel like he's been around a while, and once you hit that certain age in that position, you gotta go. You gotta
just be like, okay, I'm a mentor. I'm a backup mentor now. And running back, unfortunately, is very, very, very low shelf life for people because it's a physical position, and if you want to avoid lifelong brain damage, you need to understand that you can really only do it for like 5 years. Yeah,
and you lose the speed. I mean, you lose the ability, and the guys that are tackling you are getting younger.
Yeah, exactly. They're getting bigger and they're getting younger.
Yep, absolutely.
And they don't move nearly as easily as you would like them to when you put your shoulder or helmet into them, and they just don't move, and you're like, uh-oh. Well, I guess I'm going to I'm on the turf now.
So let's take a look into next week. I know we talked a little bit about it. What games do you think? Obviously, the Steelers and the Ravens. I mean, that's number one. That's going to be
big time.
That's going to be on there.
Yeah.
That's a 1:00 game, right?
Yeah, that's 1:00 Sunday game. So local listings probably on CBS. If I had to guess, it's always on CBS. It feels like.
AFC. Yep.
So the next biggest game actually is going to be Jets going to Buffalo.
Ooh, heck yeah!
That's a big AFC East matchup that both teams need to win. Right. Jets need to win to stay alive in the 7th seed. Buffalo needs to win to stay ahead of Kansas City in the 1st seed. Yep. If they want that first week bye in the playoffs, they need to pull something off against the Jets.
And as Steelers fans, we need Buffalo to win, right? Because we want all those wild cards to have crappy records.
That's true. Yeah, we want the wild cards to do as poor as possible to give us that chance. So, ultimately, we want the Jets to lose that game because the worse their record is, the easier it will be for the Steelers to catch up and get to that 7th seed.
And I know this is going to feel dirty, but I'm going to ask you, who do you want, Cleveland or Cincinnati? We want Cincinnati to win, right? We'll take a shower after this. I get it. But...
No, but you want Cincinnati to win.
And plus, I like seeing Cleveland in misery.
At this point, Steelers fans, we don't care who's winning the division because we know it's not us, so we don't care. As long as it's not Cleveland and it's not us, we don't care. It is most likely so. You want Cincy to win because you want to keep Cleveland's record low so we can stay ahead of them, become 3rd in the AFC North, giving us a better chance at that final wild card position.
And then you got Minnesota and Detroit. Detroit.
So the reason why I have this game here the way I do is because earlier I put up a note that says the Vikings, it looks like winning is just getting harder and harder and harder for them. And against a division rival who has proven that they can go out and play. I mean, Detroit has been the fight they put up against Buffalo on Thanksgiving was the best game of the day.
Yeah.
It was the best game of the day. So a Detroit team determined to screw up everybody's playoffs plans versus a Minnesota team where it looks like no matter Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, like all their big time guys, it still looks like winning is getting harder and harder and harder for the Vikings. So that's why that one's there. It's going to be fun to watch because I would love to see Detroit win. I don't really care about the NFC playoff picture all that much. I would just love to see Detroit get a win against the Vikings just because. That's why that one's there. And if the Vikings can beat Detroit and it turns out to be a high-scoring game and they win, hopefully they make it look like not too easy because that'd be boring, but easy enough to where everyone goes, okay, they deserve to be in the playoffs.
Sure.
And then what I put next. Philadelphia going to the Giants. We kind of already talked about that one. Big time
Jacksonville
game.
and Tennessee.
Tennessee. Again, that one's there because under Tennessee being the weakest leader in the AFC division, or the AFC South division leader, they're the weakest. I said because they win sloppily. It's kind of another Vikings scenario where winning just looks hard for these guys.
You know, it's good. And I don't think it's going to be a good game. Like, and it's too bad. It's a national game.
Yeah.
But I can't get in my head. I don't know what's going to happen. But one of probably the least, like, if I were to put money on all these games, I'd have like a good feeling, right? But I have no idea how to bet the Patriots Cardinal game.
Patriots Cardinals, yeah,
They both seem like franchises that are
just out of it.
Right. That are not. There's something wrong, and there's something not on the surface. I don't think it's a player on, and it might be, but I think it's an institutional thing. I think that the Patriots don't have an offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. They can't figure out like their identity on offense, and on the same time, I think that the coach of the Cardinals, along with Kyler Murray, they're just not meshing, and all that talking, and they're just underperforming.
Yeah.
I feel like these are two teams that had the projectile that we should be talking about, because they both are very much in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, they're still in the hunt. I mean, the Patriots are the 8th seed.
Right.
I don't know what the Cardinals are right now, but I can look while you talk.
Well, and the reason I say that is because the NFC South seems so up for grabs right now, right? You have Seattle, who's battling. You've got the Rams that we talked about stink. And you don't have a quarterback on the 49ers.
Yeah.
So it feels like they're very much in the thick of things. Just underwhelming.
Yeah. Well, the Patriots are doing significantly better than the Cardinals.
Yeah.
The Cardinals are the 12th seed in the NFC.
What are they rated? They have 4 wins, 5 wins?
4 wins. They're 4-8. They're 4-8, along with the Panthers at 4-8, the Saints at 4-9, the Falcons 5-8, Packers 5-8, Detroit 5-7, doing great. So the 8th seed right now comes down to the Commanders. So,
what about who's winning that division? What's the Niners record?
The Niners?
Yeah, what
they're 8-4.
They're 8-4. Okay,
and
so
right behind them is Seattle at 7-5.
Okay,
so they are. I mean, they're neck and neck. But unfortunately, after that, it's the Cardinals at 4-8.
Yeah.
So they're way more out of it. The Patriots have a better chance of making it. They're 6-6. They're only a game behind the Jets. So again, if the Jets lose, most likely Patriots are going to take.
But we're Cardinal fans this weekend, right? We want the Cardinals to win.
Sure, if the Jets and the Patriots both lose, that's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, that's
because everyone's. I think we've had 20 years of Patriots winning games. I'm sick of it. I'm over it. So yeah, no, I'm a big Cardinals fan. And then I have KC and Denver as like the last game to watch, and I think that is only because. Oh God, why did I put that there?
Yeah, that's a weird
I made these up on like Monday night.
Sure, so that's a weird one.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I think
I think the 49ers Buccaneer game has more implications in terms of.
There must have been something I saw that I'm just like, this is a game to watch.
Well, you got to think, and I'm with, because there's always that surprise. Every week there's a surprise game, right? Mm-hmm. It's that, you've got that upset game.
Just because it was a AFC West matchup. So it's an AFC West, it's a divisional game. As much as we would love to count the Broncos out because Russell Wilson's awful and that team just doesn't look good.
But you feel like eventually they're going to put it together, right? Am I alone in that island where I think like, okay, eventually they're going to rip off 25, 28 points.
As long as Latavius Murray, the running back who's on my fantasy team, keeps doing well, I don't really care what they do. Like
he's still alive?
Yeah.
Latavius Murray. I mean, I've always liked him. I liked him when he was on Minnesota. I've always thought he was good, but he's one of those other kind of quarterbacks that are running backs that like just
kind of disappeared.
Well, never took over. Never was a lead back type. Really good. Short yardage situation. Could catch a ball out of the backfield. But he's been around for a while.
He's been around for a while.
Yeah, been on a couple different teams, right? Saints, I think he was on for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember him most from Minnesota.
Yeah.
Backing up Madison.
Yep. Yeah, big time. Most likely a backup like runner, but he does, he puts up.
I did not know he played for them because the Broncos had some running back issues at the beginning of the season. I think they had some injuries and things like that.
Latavius Murray, healthy, Denver Broncos.
That's a good pickup. That's a sneaky pickup.
He puts up double digits.
Is that in your 14 team?
Yes. Yeah, that's in the big league. I actually have to go and adjust all my lineup because here's something that annoys me this week. There are there are 6 teams on the bye this week.
Mm-hmm.
This late in the season, it's week 14, and there's 6 teams on a bye week still. Like I get it, they have to spread them out more because it's a longer season, but like 6.
Yeah.
It's going to be I don't want to say it's going to be a boring Sunday because it's football Sunday. It's always fun. But,
sure.
But my goodness, the first window is only going to have, actually, no, the first window they're going to stack. The 1 o'clock window, they're going to stack. It's the 4 o'clock window that's only going to have 2 games.
Yep.
And it's not even going to be worth watching.
3 games. Yeah, your Chiefs and Broncos game, Seahawks and Panthers, another boring snooze fest. And then I think if I were to make that list, I would have replaced that with the 49ers Buccaneers. I'm just fascinated by 49ers that the Tom Brady, he's not done. I don't care.
No,
he's not
nobody.
done.
No, Tom's not going to be done, and he's going to go. I mean, gosh, I've voiced my frustration with the Buccaneers being the 4th seed in the NFC playoff picture just because they're winning their division by default because everybody in that division is bad. Tennessee is in a bad division where the other 3 teams are bad, but Tennessee looks pretty good.
Sure, yeah.
Tampa's in a division where all 4 of those teams don't look good. None of them look good.
So let's do this. Before we get out of here. Let's do your predictions. Let's do our predictions.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to ask you, give me scores. Give me scores or whatever. You know what? You want to do it with the money line? Should we do it with the money line?
No.
Okay.
We don't have to
do straight up. We'll
just
do
straight up gut feeling, mainly because I haven't had a chance to look at the money lines yet.
Ravens and Steelers.
Steelers.
You got the Steelers.
I got the Steelers in
winning 3 in a row against their
21. It's going to be like a 21-17 game.
21-17.
Yeah, because 17 is a magic number for our defense. Don't forget.
That if you want to win the rest of your games this season, you can't let them score more than 17 points.
Yes.
Browns, Bengals. So I agree with you. I'm going to go with you on the Steelers-Ravens pick. Yeah. Browns, Bengals. Who do you got?
Bengals, 30-20. It's going to be kind of a big deal.
As a historian in training,
mm-hmm.
I will let history dictate my pick on this, and I'm going with the Browns. I'm gonna pick the Browns on that one. Jets, Bills. Who do you like?
I love the Bills, but it's gonna be 24-21. It's gonna be very close. I hope it's close because
the Bills are getting 9.5 points right now.
Geez,
or the Jets are. Excuse me. The Jets are getting 9.5 points.
I mean, yeah, you gotta. If you are a betting boy, take that money line because they're gonna make it. It's going to be a tough game. I hope. And again, I say it with probably 85% confidence that it's going to be a tough game, but Buffalo ultimately will win.
Bills win overall, but you think Jets cover?
Yeah.
10 points is a lot.
10 points is a lot of points to win by.
Eagles and Giants. That's going to be a good one. Arnberg.
I feel admittedly though, I feel like this one's going to look better in the final score than it actually plays out. I think Eagles are going to dominate most of the game, and then the Giants are going to get some garbage time points.
And a game, and I think all Steelers nations they need to pay attention because I think the season could come down to it. You got to start watching out for Oakland. Oakland's kind of on that upswing a little bit. They play the Rams and Raiders. Who do you like on that one? That's tomorrow's Thursday night game.
Thursday night game, Rams Raiders. Oh my God.
Rams are 6.5 point favorite,
which is ridiculous because they are 3-9.
Right. Nobody should be. What's Oakland?
They're 5-7. They're the same as the Steelers right now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So they're in SoFi Stadium, prime time. But Josh Jacobs is a monster. The running back for Oakland or for Vegas is a monster, dude. So give me the Raiders. Give me the Raiders. And Steelers fans pay attention to this one because Raiders come to us Christmas Eve. That's gonna be a big game. That's gonna be.
I think the season is gonna come down to that. Steelers win the
Raiders
next 2
want
games.
to play spoilers if we're doing good by the time that Christmas Eve game comes around. The Raiders are truly only playing for spoiler.
And historically, again, Raiders have the Steelers number. I mean, they're not as dominant as the Browns are to Joey Burrow, but
they have the Steelers numbers, and trust me, I'm reminded of that almost every time they play. Almost every time.
Excellent. So it'll be a good weekend of football. Are we going to do this next week? What is next week?
I'm looking at it right now. Hold on, we pull up the calendar. Next week looks like the 14th.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be here. I'll be here. I'll be here the week after that too.
Excellent. Perfect.
So
we're in the thick of it now.
We're in the thick of it. We're running up the playoffs. I mean, the whole idea of this was to cover the playoffs, basically.
Sure,
that's the whole reason I wanted to do it. But you can't do that without talking about everything else.
Absolutely.
I I think we're good. All division matchups are must-win games. I think. Oh, that was the pattern of my games that I listed here. All division matchups are weak.
That's when it starts mattering. And in the NFL, they did that. They scheduled these division games late, and that they did that for purpose.
I think the last game of the season is actually going to be in Baltimore.
Yeah,
that's our final game of the season.
Either we're going to try to be getting in the playoffs, or we're going to be playing spoiler. Or,
exactly.
I mean, there's so
or
many
maybe both. Or maybe both.
Absolutely.
Maybe both.
Excellent. Well, that's it. Hey guys, check us out on Facebook.
Armchair Analysts on Facebook. Armchair Analysts on YouTube. All the links are on the Facebook post. So if you know me personally on Facebook, I share it. I look at it. You don't have a Facebook anymore, do you?
I do not. It's a horrible. But I'm probably going to get it back. I teeter back.
Take a break. I get it. Dude, trust me, I get it. If it weren't for this, I probably would.
I love it during football season. Hate it during election season. You know, it's kind of
every 2 years they coincide.
Right. Absolutely. It's horrible. It's worse than.
Yeah. So check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Facebook. Continue listening to WDSR because we need the funding. And other than that, we'll see everybody back here next week in the chair.
Excellent. Be good or be good at it. Oops. End the stream.
Bye, YouTube. Bye, Facebook.
Bye, YouTube. Bye, YouTube.
You got that? Or you want the mouse?
Oh, yeah. Okay.